Hey everybody, my name is Ted Forbes and welcome back to another episode of The Art of Photography. And in today's video, we're going to talk about mobile photography. This is a subject that I've come back around to a few times, and I think it's really important. And the reason why is that, you know, in terms of what you're able to do mobile with a smartphone now, it's changing photography dramatically. I think in much the same way that when 35mm became the medium that everybody shot on, you know, the reason why is 35mm was not necessarily a superior format. It's a small negative compared to 4x5 and sheet film, but what it did is it added a portability element to the camera design, and you're able to take a 35mm camera anywhere, and especially for photojournalism, you're able to get shots that would not have been possible because they had to be taken quick, you know, the whole decisive moment thing. We've talked about a lot of this before in these videos. And I think what's important to consider about mobile photography is where we are now and what's changing. And this is why I revisit the topic. You know, we've had cell phone photography for a long time now, probably 10, 15 years. And for a long time, cell phone photography was really, really bad. I mean, you know, 35mm badness compared to sheet film is nothing like what early cell phones were able to do. But now what's changing is the sensors have gotten a lot better. It's good enough. And you have the whole aspect that you're connected to the internet. And that is what makes it amazing. And what I want to do is today I want to look at some of the tools and things that are available to you as a photographer. You know, I think just the inherent nature that I think it's almost like missing the point just to say that cell phones or smartphones are getting better, because that's a given. They're going to get better. They're good enough, though. What's important is that you have a camera that's generally always with you, that you can always pull out and get a shot from. And I think, you know, in terms of developing your own skills as a photographer, this is really important because it allows you to, you know, experiment and play in a certain way where you don't have film development. It's all instant. It's all right there in your phone. And when you get a shot that you really like, you can share that with, you know, potentially millions of people in an instant. And that's what's really important. Now, the last couple of videos we've been talking about building websites, and this is actually, I want to include this as part of that, because we were talking about, namely when you're deciding what kind of content you want to do and what kind of brand you want to have, and I hate that word when we're talking about people because people don't have brands, cattle have brands, but that's beside the point. But I think it's important to consider, you know, one of the things you want to be able to do is constantly create new content. You want to keep your site fresh. And so what I want to do is take a look at how mobile photography, you know, what services are available and how that can integrate into your website. So really publishing to your website can be done out on the road, it can be done when you're out of town, it can be done anywhere you have a camera. And I think that's the important thing here. So what we're going to do is take a look at some tools that are available and how those integrate into what we're doing with website design and what we're doing with our websites in general. And even if you're not building a website, I think this is all important stuff to look at and things to consider. So what we're going to do is go over to the computer and let's have a look. Okay, so we are talking about mobile photography and some of the stuff that is available, and you're going to know most of this, but what I want to show you is some things maybe you didn't know you could do with some of this stuff. And I think this is really important because in the context that we're talking about, which is you know, building your own website, you know, I talk all the time about you want to be able to have fresh content on there. You want it easy to update. And one of the coolest things you can do with image websites, with photography specifically, is to do automatic content creation or automatic updating. So let me talk about what that is. The other thing I just realized too is I'm doing a screencast from my laptop on this, and I probably should be showing you my phone because there's kind of this new trend with mobile photography and its role in social media where you're having things that only exist and live as an app. You know, the privacy works differently within a situation like that, and a lot of these things do not duplicate over onto a website of their own, but most of them are open and they have what's called an API, which I'll explain what that means. But basically it just means that there's this programming interface. So if you know how to code, or you're using WordPress or using something where, you know, there are tools to go pull photos from your account, basically is what that means. You know, the service will share those. So let me give you an example. So for instance, Flickr here. Flickr has an API or a backend on it. And so what this means is I can hook this up to another website. So I have just a local install of WordPress going right here, and I found a plugin that somebody else wrote in about 2 seconds. Obviously there's some design issues here because it just stacks all my photos up. But having said that, it built a series of images from my photo stream on Flickr. So what that means is when I update a new photo on Flickr, whether I upload it from my computer, if it's, you know, a pro shot or something like that, or whether I do it from my mobile phone, if it's in my Flickr account, it will automatically be updated over here on my WordPress webpage. It's amazing. It's really cool. You know, most hosting providers offer this kind of connection. Like WordPress, I just got a plugin for. Squarespace does it. But you can use Flickr and basically slurp your photos out of Flickr. So when I update my Flickr page, it automatically updates my website. I don't have to worry about doing my new content over there. And I think that's pretty important and something that's very nice to have, is this auto content updating. And all these services have it. Instagram probably, arguably or not arguably, is the biggest social media platform for photographers right now. As you can see, most of the images in my feed right now from other people are really not from photographers. They're from artists and people goofing around with graphics and stuff, and my 10-year-old nephew and whatever. Anyway, but Instagram really cannot be ignored right now. It integrates wonderfully into Facebook and Twitter and other social platforms. If you don't have an Instagram account, you should. There's a lot you can do with it, and it's really picking up in terms of its usefulness. And again, you can slurp your photos over from Instagram. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but on the podcast or on our homepage here, which is theartofphotography.tv, I have this set to automatically update some stuff from Pinterest over here that I've done, and also my Instagram photos. So I never update this. It's just whatever my latest Instagram photo is automatically gets posted here. I think that's pretty important to be able to do, because all of a sudden, and obviously right here, it's just a little widget of 9 images, and that never changes. But, on your photography website, and as I'm redesigning my website, I want ways to be able to auto-post content. This also works reciprocally as well, because notice I have a little follow on Instagram with a link on here. When I redo my main photography website and I start pushing Instagram as something that I'm going to do more often and more seriously, what is cool about this is branding Instagram into that. People know where they can follow you, so they can follow you directly from Instagram as well. So it serves two purposes. You're putting content on your website, and you're also being able to drive people to the social media updates. And so it's kind of a win-win. Everything works and does it really well. Instagram obviously does have a website backend, but if you look at something, this is more video-oriented, but something like Vine, this is the Vine blog, and Vine is an app only, and it does these little, I believe they're 6 or 9 second videos. I think they're 6-second videos, and they loop. And so it's kind of become this art form all of itself of like moving stills, basically. You can think of it as that. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but you don't have enough time to actually really produce much video in here, but it does give you a sense of motion within a still photograph. Vines was pretty much duplicated what they do with the new Instagram when Instagram added video, but it still works and it's still interesting. One of the problems with Vine, though, is they do not have a website. I'm on the Vine blog right now. They have a website, but you can't view your images like in an account like Flickr or something like that. And so, if you head over, it's vine.co, and I'm on their blog right here, which is blog.vine.co, and there is a way to embed these Vine posts into your blog or your webpage. They do not do it automatically, but you have to schedule that from the app, which is, you have to go share them on a case-by-case basis. But does work. You can do it. Also interesting is that Vine is running their entire blog off of Tumblr, which is kind of cool, give or take. So anyway, very interesting service. Obviously, Facebook, I'm not going to mention too much of because it's not much of a mobile photography service, but all this stuff does integrate into Facebook. And if you're a Facebook user, you already know this. If you're not, you ought to consider using Facebook for nothing else if you were interested in promoting what you do at all. So anyway, what we're looking at is social media services, and these are not rocket science. They're obvious. There's obviously the big three. You've got Twitter, Facebook, and you got Instagram. I think Flickr should be added in there, and Vine is an option as well. When you start to do these, you're starting to push your work out there in more ways than you're just going to be able to do just simply by maintaining a website. You're going to have that social media component and what it's designed to do in there. And I think it works inversely also because you can embed from any of these accounts straight onto a website. And literally, sorry folks, I didn't do much design here. This is WordPress right out of the box. There's a Flickr plugin I found. I hooked up my credentials and it built auto content within 2 minutes before I started recording this video. Obviously, you need to work on some design issues here and stuff. And actually, these even work to where they open the image in a lightbox type way here too. So anyway, very, very cool stuff. And it's an excellent way to not only increase your reach and your audience with what you're doing with social media, but also to start doing more auto posting of content back to your website, which just keeps everything, up to date. And, you know, I think it's really important to start doing these things. What I've noticed is that a lot of photographers will kind of dive into one thing and not really keep it updated on the other end, or their website and their Instagram account live in two different worlds. And I like to look at things a little more holistically. You know, I just think the real power is when you use those to drive people to and from either the social media or the website. So anyway, hope this has been useful, and you know, leave me a comment if you got any questions about anything. Okay, so I hope that has given you, you know, some directions as far as what can be done with mobile photography. Of course, what it's going to come down to and what you're able to do as far as innovation goes is all up to the photographer. It's all up to you. It's all up to how often you take photos, how much you experiment, how much you're willing to try to push that envelope. And what's interesting to me is I do get emails from time to time, usually from younger photographers who are starting out, and they've watched the show, they've watched a couple of videos, and typically I get an email saying, hey, I'm in the market for a DSLR, but I might want to upgrade my iPhone, but I really want to be a photographer, but my camera or my cell phone is the only camera that I have. And you know, really the response to that is that it doesn't matter. You have a camera. What matters is what you do with it. Now, I know it's hard to feel like a photographer when you're just wielding a cell phone and you don't have the big DSLR and all the gear and stuff. But gear, you know, you got to be careful with. It's deceptive. Gear is just simply tools. And if you're able to do a lot with very few tools, in other words, if all you have is a cell phone and that's what you take photos with, I mean, there are people out there that are doing amazing things with a camera phone. And what it involves is practice. It involves getting out there and making the shots. It involves sharing them online, using services, you know, like Twitter or Instagram or whatever it is that you're doing, and really trying to improve yourself. Now, improving yourself, obviously the easy solution is to go out and spend money on equipment. That doesn't improve anything. That puts the same photographer on different gear, and you could make the argument that that creates problems because you don't know the equipment inside out right away. And photography is not learning about equipment so much, improving your own skill level as a photographer. It's about getting out there and making shots and making them work. I also think the other important thing to take away from this is when we do get into building websites is this is an excellent source of being able to post on a website and keeping fresh content that's consistent and new. And you know, how easy is that to do now? You don't even have to be at a computer. You can use your cell phone. And I think that's really important. So, you know, if there's something to do this week to take away to prep for some of the website building stuff that we've got coming up, if you're not using Instagram or Twitter or any of those, sign up and start using them. Start sharing your photos, start developing kind of a back catalog of some stuff, and start pushing yourself to put your best work out there. Don't post something just because you took it. Post, you know, be a little bit curatorial with your own work. Go through it and decide what you think is your best work and what you are ready to post and feel like posting. Anyway, I hope that's helped. That's a little bit on mobile photography today. Again, we'll revisit this topic from time to time. But anyway, I want to thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Later.